History is not merely a dry record of dates and names etched in stone. It is a restless graveyard of secrets, a silent, watchful witness to those pivotal moments where men of absolute power were forced to choose between the survival of their throne and the integrity of their very soul. Today, we step back into the year 1901, entering the dimly lit, suffocating chambers of the Yildiz Palace in Istanbul, a place where the fate of the modern world was decided during a single freezing afternoon. Welcome to Uncomfortable History. Before the world witnessed the chaotic shifting of borders in the modern Middle East, before the maps were redrawn in blood and oil, there was a man who stood as the final, unyielding gatekeeper, Sultan Abdul Hamid II. To the Western powers, he was famously branded the Red Sultan, a supposed tyrant of an aging world. But within the shadows of global diplomacy, he was the only man standing between a crumbling empire and a promise that would ignite a century of fire. On this specific day, a man named Theodor Herzl, the founding father of modern Zionism, walked into the Sultan's presence with a proposal so immense it would have tempted any other monarch on earth. The Ottoman Empire was dying, suffocating under a mountain of foreign debt. Its borders were crumbling, and its treasury was empty. Herzl's offer was simple, yet staggering. Give us Palestine, and we will pay every cent of your debt. We will fill your vaults with gold and make your empire immortal again. Imagine the crushing weight of that moment. One stroke of a pen could have saved the Sultan's crown and ended the poverty of his people. But Sultan Abdul Hamid II did not look at the gold. He looked far into the future. He saw the ghosts of the millions who had bled for that soil, and he saw the blood of the millions yet to come. His response was not a whisper. It was a thunderclap that still echoes through the corridors of time. He looked Herzl in the eyes and told him, "I cannot sell even a single inch of this land, for it does not belong to me. It belongs to my people." But every act of defiance has a price. This refusal signed the Sultan's own death warrant and triggered a global web of conspiracy meant to tear the caliphate apart. Stay uncomfortable. The year 1901 was not just another fading sunset in the long, decaying history of the Ottoman Empire. It was the year the world's most dangerous and seductive offer was placed on a silver platter, shifting the gears of human events in a way that still vibrates through our world today. As we explored in the opening chapter, Theodor Herzl did not enter the cold marble corridors of the Yildiz Palace with empty hands or mere pleas. He arrived with the weight of a mountain of gold and the promise of a debt-free future for an empire that was slowly gasping for its final breath. You have to understand the desperation behind the Zionist movement of that era. It was a movement fueled by a singular burning mission so deep that they were willing to effectively buy a nation from its ruler. And they knew with surgical precision that the Ottoman Empire was drowning under a crushing mountain of foreign debt, making the Sultan the perfect target for a masterstroke of financial diplomacy. Sultan Abdul Hamid II, famously mocked by the Western press as the sick man of Europe, was being offered the ultimate medicine for his dying state. But he was a man who could see the hidden poison inside the needle. The proposal was staggering in its simplicity. Give the Jewish people a homeland in Palestine, under your ultimate sovereignty, and we will pay off every single cent of your empire's foreign debt. This wasn't just a business deal. It was a temptation designed to break the strongest of men. However, the Sultan was not a man of simple greed or short-term survival. He was a master of the long game. A leader who understood that he wasn't just being asked to trade a piece of soil for some coins, but was being asked to sell the very soul and sacred legacy of the caliphate itself. He spent countless lonely nights sitting in his private library, illuminated by a single flickering candle, staring at the ancient maps of Jerusalem and the surrounding Holy Lands, knowing with a heavy heart that the gold of the Zionists could save his crown today, but it would inevitably destroy his people and their history forever. The atmosphere inside the palace during these secret meetings was thick with a tension so heavy it felt like lead. Herzl was relentless, persistent, and brilliant, using every connection, every letter, and every intermediary to find a crack in the Sultan's armor, believing firmly that every man on earth had a price if the number was high enough. But Herzl had never encountered a spirit like Abdul Hamid II. When the Sultan officially uttered his refusal, that famous, thunderous no, the gears of global politics didn't just stop. They began to turn violently and vengefully against him. Almost overnight, Western newspapers, many of which were influenced by the same powerful financiers Herzl walked with, began a massive, coordinated campaign to destroy the Sultan's reputation, branding him the Red Sultan and the Great Assassin, painting him as a monster to the eyes of the world. This wasn't just bad press, it was a psychological war. The refusal triggered a series of internal fires. Suddenly, rebellion started popping up like ghosts in the night, and the Young Turks movement began to gain momentum with a timing that many historians find far too suspicious to be a coincidence. The Sultan found himself trapped in a nightmare. On one side, the great European powers were circling like vultures, waiting for his bank to break so they could carve up his lands. And on the other side, the Zionist movement was waiting with clinical patience for him to get desperate enough to finally take the gold. In the middle of this storm, the Sultan fought a lonely, exhausting battle to protect a land he believed was a trust from God, not a piece of real estate. He knew that by saying no to the gold, he was effectively saying yes to his own downfall and signing his own death warrant. He became obsessed with security, building his Yildiz intelligence spy network to root out the Zionist and European influence that he felt crawling through his own military and government. The psychological toll on a man who knows that his integrity is causing his own destruction is unimaginable. He watched as his friends turned into informants and his officers into revolutionaries. He warned his advisors in those final dark days that once the door to Palestine was opened with the key of gold, it would never, ever be closed again without the shedding of oceans of blood. A prophecy that has proven to be hauntingly, tragically accurate for the last century. Every secret report he read, every intercepted telegram, and every whisper in the palace pointed to a single truth. The world was moving on, and it was moving over him. Yet, even as the walls of his palace began to feel like the walls of a tomb, he refused to blink. He saw the Zionists as patient architects of a new world order, and he saw himself as the last wall standing in their way. But walls eventually crumble when the foundation is undermined. The gold that was refused by the Sultan didn't just disappear. It stayed in the pockets of those who wanted him gone. Now, as the revolution reaches the very gates of the Yildiz Palace, and the Shadow Master faces the final cold hours of his reign, we are left to confront the most uncomfortable question of all. Was the Sultan a hero who sacrificed everything for a sacred principle? Or was he a man whose stubbornness accelerated the very chaos he tried to prevent? The spark has been lit in the hearts of his enemies. The explosion that will redraw the maps of the world is coming. and the secrets that were meant to be buried in the Sultan's private archives are finally, painfully, about to be revealed to a world that isn't ready for the truth. This is the moment where the web finally snaps, where the spider is caught in his own silk, and where the history of the Middle East takes a turn from which there is no coming back. Stay uncomfortable, because the final chapter of this betrayal is even darker than the one we have just walked through. History proves that when an empire refuses to be bought, it is destined to be destroyed. By 1909, the Sultan's no had turned into his death warrant. As the Young Turks, backed by Zionist interests, stormed the Yildiz Palace, Sultan Abdul Hamid II stood alone in the silence of his library. He knew the gold he had rejected was now returning as the fire for his own execution. He didn't greet the rebels with fear, but with a chilling prophecy. He warned them that by removing him, they weren't just ending a reign, they were opening a gate to a century of fire. He told his betrayers that while they sought to satisfy the greed of foreign powers today, the land of Palestine would be washed in blood for 100 years to come. Today, as we watch the haunting images of Jerusalem and Gaza, we are forced to confront the reality that we are living in the very world the Sultan predicted in his final hours. His throne was lost, his records were burned, and his name was dragged through the dirt. But a prophecy cannot be buried. We are living in the echo of a no whispered a century ago, proving that the past is never truly dead. It is just waiting. If this journey through the shadows of the caliphate has shaken you, then you belong here. Creating a documentary of this scale takes weeks of research into censored truths. Subscribe to Uncomfortable History now and share this video with someone who still believes the world is what they see on the news. Was the Sultan a hero or a tyrant? Tell me in the comments. I am Uncomfortable History. The shadows are watching. Stay uncomfortable.